Teachers of Reddit, what are some of the weirdest things you've confiscated from a student? A vitamin B12 vape pen. Didn't know they existed. Now watch the kids vaping e-cigs get shamed for not smoking a vitamin vape. A sugar glider. Kept hearing a high-pitched squeak in class. Noticed she had a small animal in her jacket pocket when it decided to poke its head out. A student brought one of these to my class. I teach college, so that was fun and I was super excited, and she let me hold it. The students were busy doing some group work, and when they were just about done I went to hand it back to her. It then proceeded to leap down the front of my shirt and attach itself to my bra. So now I'm supposed to be lecturing again, but this girl's sugar glider is not only sitting in my cleavage, but running around under my shirt. More than half the class had no idea why I was distracted, or why I shoved my hand down between my boobs until I finally got the little guy out. The following year a different student's hedgehog peed on me. A homemade arrow made with a pencil and a modified razor blade. Was this in prison? Nope. High school in Averagetown, USA. A little orange lizard in a box with a Charizard Pokemon card taped to it. To clarify, the card was taped to the box. Not confiscated but actually given as a gift. A bag of her hair. A bag of every strand of hair she's had cut since birth. A raccoon penis toothpick. He kept poking other kids with it. Sigh. Not a teacher but a kid brought a human skull to school. I think the teacher just had a conversation with him about it. My father took a cleaver off a student. My dad was doing lunch duty and saw the kid open his jacket and motion his buddies to have a look. Turns out there was going to be a fight after school. My dad knew the kid and asked him to step into the hallway. He got the cleaver off the kid and took him to the office. I'm not sure what his punishment was, but pre-Columbine, so who knows. The naked lady booby lighter. Kid was 7th or 8th grade in an alternative school setting. He was always sneaking stuff in his pockets and getting it taken up. We are walking to lunch and my assistant stops suddenly. He comes back with a metal naked woman torso in his hand. You could press one boob and the flame came out of the other. It was fantastic. It was super popular in the office for the few days until mom came to pick it up. She was really glad to get family heirloom back. A white lacy thong from a kindergartner. She was wearing it on her head. In music class this kid Oliver pulls out a Matchbox car and starts playing. Teacher takes it, turn around, places it on piano, turns back, he's already gotten the next one out of his pocket and it back to playing, so she took it again, rinse repeat. Funniest shit ever to an 8-year-old. We laugh so fucking hard. I had to confiscate an 11th grader's laptop because she was going to mature-themed chat rooms during class. Specifically ones for married men looking to chat with young girls. Yeah. Then, after she wasn't allowed to bring her laptop or phone to school anymore, she later got banned from school Chromebooks for doing it again. She was not very bright. When I was in school my English teacher confiscated 50 Shades of Grey off another pupil during our silent reading time. We would have been in year 7 or 8 at the time. My classmate, who was the dumbass class clown, tried to kick off about it and asked the teacher why it being taken away, and the teacher calmly said, "I'm not letting you read that, it's terribly written. It's as if it's been written by someone on a train." A bottle of passion fruit lube brought in by a 4-year-old, making all her friends smell her fruity hand cream. Poor mama must have had a long night and mixed up her eczema cream. A brick decorated with hentai in the locker of a 14-year-old boy. He was very different, that kid. Not a confiscation, but when my 4 5th-year-olds were getting changed for PE, a little girl opened their bag and out fell a bunch of very sexy lingerie. 10 minutes later at the window I have a very red mum with the correct kit in hand saying she mixed up the dry cleaning with the daughter's PE kit. I pretended I hadn't seen. Bona said it when I asked him why he brought it in. He said, "For the skulls of my enemies." He didn't have friends, but not because he was odd. Even the odd kids hated his guts, but because he was horrible and obnoxious to everyone. Worked on his social skills with him for a long time and allowed him to run a manga club in my classroom Friday lunch times whilst I was in there. He made friends in the end and had a much nicer life since that club. He's a happy 18-year-old now with a girlfriend and kid. Having a kid at 16 was the normal in the deprived area, so him having a family, his own place and a job he enjoys is good. He messages me on Facebook every now and then to check in and tell me how his life is. Just because that's not happiness to some of you, please do not shit on his. I teach little ones, so nothing nearly as risque as some of the others in this thread. I've confiscated handcuffs, a wrench, baby bottles, and a variety of bugs and small animals the kiddos caught out at recess. A colleague confiscated an adult movie from a 5-year-old. The kid didn't know what it was, didn't even know that it was a videotape, or anything about it. It just looked cool, the tape itself, he didn't know of the content. Small Tupperware container of swamp water. Why was it confiscated? Camp counselor here. We have permission to go through bags to confiscate prohibited items like food and electronics and knives. One girl had a Tupperware full of what looked like the oldest peanut butter imaginable smeared all over the Tupperware. I brought it to my coworkers, and we all tried to smell it, but it smelled different to all of us. Literally no clue what this shit was. Asked the girl about it one day and she goes, that's my plant, like it's obvious. Apparently it was some kind of fungus or algae to apply to sunburns. It's in the woods. They can't keep food on them because of bears and other wildlife. We aren't starving them, I promise. Not really bizarre, but very memorable. I had to take a water bottle that contained some type of fruity vodka. Had to smell it to be sure. I only knew to check because the student was recognizably drunk. This was an 8th grader. Wow. This blew up. My top comment is now officially about underage drinking in school. Too many comments to respond to all of them, but yes, it is common. A teacher catching it is not always as common though. I had to confiscate a 7th grader's iPad because he was looking up anime girl body pillows. Student. A teacher confiscated a dildo from a student. This was in 7th grade. I taught English in South Korea for a year. One time I caught a kid doing the old comic book inside a textbook routine. I was surprised. I didn't know kids did that. After laughing, I confiscated his comic book. In my school we used to do that but have non-fiction books inside fiction. For some reason during our library lessons we could borrow non-fiction, but during the lesson we had to read fiction. So this was what a lot of kids did. A taxidermied kookaburra. She taught herself how to do it from books. It was not done well. Just to clarify, apparently it was dead, having been hit by a car when she found it. My friend had his toasty machine banned just when he started to make a profit. It wasn't exactly a confiscation. Some of my students thought it would be a good idea to bring me 2 chickens. 2 live chickens. They knew my daughter had a pet duck that had recently died, so this was their idea to help us get past the grief. I had to keep them in a carrier in my classroom closet in the dark just so they would be quiet. The chickens, not the kids. By the end of the day I found a kid with a grandmother that had a farm. She took the chickens home. Here's her duck in better days. Student here. In grade 4, a student in my class brought his cat into class. I brought in my cats on occasion for show and tell, but it's not quite the same thing.